Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. Here recently, Nintendo has been a little quiet. We haven't really heard much from them, but today they absolutely unloaded with their fiscal year report, and I think we all kind of knew this, but Nintendo has had a massive year. Well, it really is crazy both with its hardware and software, and on top of that, from the sounds of it, they might have some big plans for 2021 as well. In fact, they also announced a brand new first-party game last night, so we're going to go over all of that today. Now, we also got some new information on the PS5 and a new redesign. Yeah, Sony is set to redesign the PlayStation 5 and very soon, so we'll talk about that as well. With that said though, let's get right into the news, starting off with a game that I helped kickstart years ago, or actually, it was done through Fig, but Psychonauts 2. I've really been excited about Psychonauts 2 as I personally think the first game is an all-time great 3D platformer. I would personally place it in the top 5 or 10 3D platformers of all time. It's a highly creative game as you enter different people's minds, use psychic abilities, and meet all these different wacky characters in crazy imaginative worlds. Whether that be the milkman or a Godzilla-type fish, it's just a lot of fun and truly a hidden masterpiece. I really recommend playing the first game if you haven't already. They did just bring it to Xbox Game Pass if you want to try it there, but I did say this earlier this week. I don't think it's a coincidence that Xbox just suddenly released the first game in the Game Pass. I do think that they're about to announce an official release date for the sequel. We know for a fact that they were working on the credits a couple months ago, which is a good sign that they're finishing up with development. Double Fine has also been very active on social media as of recent, posting pictures and kind of joking around with the official Xbox Twitter handle. So it does seem like that their marketing is starting to ramp up, and then to add to all that, last night Psychonauts 2 went live on the Xbox Store. Some users were even able to preload it, and it takes up 26.65 gigabytes on your hard drive. Yeah, so I do think a Psychonauts 2 announcement is absolutely imminent by this point. There's just too much happening right now that's pointing to a soonish release date. Now, when I say soonish, I think it could happen as early as this month or as late as June. Keep in mind, I'm just guessing, but we do know that Xbox Game Pass games release in waves, so if it does come out in May, it'll probably be a part of that second Xbox Game Pass wave for the second half of the month. Now, on the other hand, I could see them announcing a release date at E3 and then releasing it in late June. Again though, I'm just guessing, and I know Xbox likes to release games in August as well, so I can't really rule that out, but yeah, I'm actually really excited about Psychonauts 2. It's low-key probably my most anticipated game that's coming out this year after Resident Evil Village. There's a reason I got this game on Fig the day they announced it, because truthfully, that first game is absolutely amazing. Seriously, more people need to play that game, so definitely go do that. Now, speaking of E3 a moment ago, I got some good news for those who are excited to watch that next month. This is the gamers' holiday after all, and it just got better with more participants. We unfortunately lost Konami earlier this week, but now Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, Xseed, and Gearbox will all attend E3 alongside a few others such as Turtle Beach and even Verizon. So yeah, E3 is really starting to shape up with most of the major publishers participating in some shape or form. Really the only big ones that are missing are PlayStation, Activision, and Electronic Arts. Now obviously PlayStation hasn't been to an E3 for a couple years now, so I wouldn't expect that to change at all. They've instead shifted over to their State of Play events, and I'm sure we will get some kind of big event from them this summer. As for these new inclusions though, Bandai Namco is interesting. I know a lot of you all want a reveal for Elden Ring. I mean, we've seen leaked footage, but when are we going to see an official reveal? That is the main question, but maybe we see it here at E3. Also, Square Enix is always a company to keep an eye on. They have a ton of high-profile franchises, and they could show up on either the Xbox or Nintendo stage. They have a good relationship with both, and we've especially seen that recently with Xbox Game Pass. Really the same thing can be said with Sega, but yeah, let's get excited for E3. It's just a little over a month away, and I cannot wait to see what's in store. Now, we also got an update on the upcoming Mass Effect Legendary Edition that releases on May 14th. It does sound like EA and BioWare has put some real effort into the remaster trilogy, especially with the first game, which was very out of date. The second and third one aged pretty well, but that first game is kind of difficult to go back to, so it's nice to see it get an update to make it feel a little bit more modern. I mean, this trilogy as a whole absolutely deserves the best. It is one of the most beloved trilogies ever made, and luckily they are treating it as a premier remaster. Now EA has put out some performance targets, and I'm happy to say it's looking good. I'll post a screenshot here, and as you can see, it can run up to 60 frames per second on every single platform if you decide to favor FPS. This even includes the original Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Now, whether that's locked or not is a completely different story. It does say up to 60 FPS, so I don't imagine it is. The most interesting part of these performance targets, though, are the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. In quality mode, the Xbox Series X and PS5 are the same on paper, with both aiming for 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, but interestingly enough, in performance mode, the Xbox Series X is able to achieve 120 frames per second, whereas the PS5 is 60 frames. Now, I think this is probably because the way the PS5 handles backwards compatibility. This is not a native PS5 or Series X game, and this has become a trend where it's a lot easier to get a game running at 120 frames on a Series X because of how they handle backwards compatibility. This is where you really have to applaud Xbox on their increased focus for backwards compatibility, so kudos to them. Either way, Mass Effect Legendary Edition looks to be solid on all platforms, and that will be great for returning and new players alike. Let's talk about Nintendo though. As I said before, they've been a little quiet here recently, but that ended last night when they announced a brand new first-party game, and this one is interesting. It's Game Builder Garage, where, as the name implies, you build your own game. Now, this type of game is not going to be for everybody, admittedly, but it's only $30, and this is a useful tool for those who have creative minds or just want to learn how to develop a game. I mean, Nintendo is among the most creative minds in the game industry, so a game like this from them has a lot of potential. Looking on the website though, it does say that you can share your own games, so this would go in that play, create, share genre alongside games like Dreams, though I am interested in how you share. Nintendo does have a tendency of being a little bit more strict with their online services, and with a game like this, I could definitely see them limiting your options in how you share your project. In fact, at the bottom of the page, it does say that you can exchange codes with a friend where you can share and play, so I do want to see if that's the only option to share your work. Nonetheless, I like that Nintendo is making a game like this. It could really be helpful for aspiring developers. Now, that's not all for Nintendo though, and far from it. They posted their fiscal year report, and it is just absolute insanity. The Nintendo Switch in its 2021 fiscal year sold 28.83 million units, bringing the total units sold up to 84.59 million units lifetime, which makes it the fourth best-selling Nintendo console of all time. That is a crazy dramatic increase in hardware sold. We've really been hearing about this all year long, and from the moment people started to work from home, the Switch just took off. I mean, gaming did as a whole, but Nintendo in specific really just dominated the whole year, and that really shows on the software side of things. Yeah, check this out. The Nintendo Switch now has 2 first-party games that sold more than 30 million units, 6 first-party games that sold more than 20 million, and then 11 that sold more than 10 million units lifetime. Yeah, that is insanity, and I've never seen something like that. But to focus a little bit more on individual games, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had another successful year, selling more than 10 million units, bringing it up to 35.29 million total. Yeah, I know everybody's talking about Mario Kart 9 and the possibility of that happening, but 8 Deluxe isn't slowing down at all, and it will reach 40 million at some point down the line. The big success story though was Animal Crossing New Horizons, selling nearly 33 million in a single year. I would have never expected that from Animal Crossing. I knew it would be successful and everything, but I don't think anybody imagined it would have taken off the way it did. A few other highlights though would be Mario 3D All-Stars, which sold 9 million. That was a limited time release and very impressive for a remastered collection. You really don't usually see remasters with that type of success. Granted, like I said, it was limited, and I still really don't agree with that. I just don't like that Nintendo did this, but clearly it was a massive success. I just hope this doesn't become a trend going forward. Paper Mario Origami King that released last year also achieved 3 million, Mario Bowser's Fury is up to 5.59 million, and I'm sure that will continue to have a lot of success, and even Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition sold pretty well with 1.52 million sold. Yeah, Nintendo had a massive year, and what's crazy is that their forecast for next year is almost just as high. Their current forecast is 25.5 million for their 2022 fiscal year. The thing is, last year their forecast was 19 million, and they outsold that by 9 million units. And there are reports from both Nikkei and Bloomberg that Nintendo plans on producing between 29 and 30 million units this year. So if they can do that, realistically we might see another record-breaking year for the Switch, which has me wondering, what is their plans to keep this type of momentum going forward? Selling more than 25 million units in a single year is incredibly difficult, let alone producing 30 million. So yeah, it does sound like that they have a big year planned. There's rumors of a Switch Pro, so that would be big. You also have multiple Pokemon games coming, and maybe even Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Those definitely could push some consoles, but I think they might have some surprises along the way as well. All I know for the moment though, it doesn't look like Nintendo is going to slow down anytime soon. Moving on though, we also need to talk about the PS5. An interesting report just made its way online detailing a PS5 redesign in 2022. I know a lot of you all don't even have the current PS5 that's out right now, so a redesign this soon might surprise you, but this is actually pretty standard stuff. This isn't a PS5 Pro or anything like that, just to clear up any kind of confusion. What's happening here is that Sony is looking to change the inside of the console to help with stock shortages. So this is good news overall. It's no secret that the PS5 is in short supply, in large part because the ongoing shortage of semiconductors. We're currently hearing this shortage might last well into 2022, though I don't think anybody really knows an exact date when things will start to improve. It's not just the PS5 that's dealing with this either, but all electronics. Other consoles, cars, computer parts, phones, and everything in between are dealing with the same issues. Sony, however, did say last week that they were looking into redesigning the PS5 to help with stock issues, and now according to DigiTimes, they are indeed planning to produce a redesigned PS5 that includes a new semi-customized 6nm CPU for 2022. There is a shortage on 7nm chips that the PS5 currently uses, so this redesign would make sense, and it's also reportedly a little cheaper to produce. Again, this is pretty standard stuff. Changing the internal parts to decrease cost is something that happens throughout the generation, even if this is a little bit sooner than what some would expect. Just don't expect Sony to announce a new slim PS5, a Pro, or anything like that. Still, however, this is good news, though hopefully most of the PS5 demand is met throughout 2021. I would absolutely hate to see stock problems persist into 2022. Onto the poll of the day though, Resident Evil Village comes out tomorrow and I am pumped to play a brand new Resident Evil game. It's getting pretty good reviews and its performance and power is impressive from what we've seen so far. Though I did want to ask you all on how you feel about Resident Evil in first person. The last two mainline entries are in first person, which is quite the change for this franchise. 1 through 6 was in third person, so I wanted to know what you all prefer. And this one actually surprised me, but 59% of you do prefer Resident Evil in first person. I was expecting more of you to vote for third person, but several of you noted that first person makes it more immersive and scarier. First person does fit the horror genre perfectly, so you all do make a good point here. For me personally though, my favorite is Resident Evil 2, which is in third person, but at the same time, I think Resident Evil 7 was excellent. And I think recent installments is just kind of a testament on how good of a job Capcom has been doing. Resident Evil has proved it can be good in both perspectives, and with that, I'm kind of hoping they do both from this point forward. You know, just kind of mix things up. You can make first-person Resident Evil games, but I also hope they can make some third-person games as well, and go back to their roots from time to time. We are at least seeing that with the remakes, so both groups can be happy here. But yeah, as long as they can continue to make good games as they've been doing, I'll accept either perspective. I think they both have their advantages. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.